Hi, everybody. Today we're going to learn about a wonderful artist whose name is Claude Monet. He was French, so we sound like Monet. And we're going to study one of his most famous works, which is called Waterlilies. Waterlilies. Waterlilies are these lovely flowers that grow in the water on top of the ponds with a big round leaf and lovely flowers that grow from it. This is a picture. Whoop. Hold on a minute. This is a picture of real water lilies. This is what they look like. You see the water lilies grow from a big round leaf called the lily pad, and then the flower grows from there. And the flowers can be pink, they can be yellow, they can be purple. So we're going to work on something like this, and we're going to paint in his style. Now this is his painting of water lilies. This is Claude Monet's painting of water lilies. You can see how it looks very watery, almost blurry, and the water lilies are bunched up together with the flowers coming out from them. It gave us the impression of light shining on the water. See the little spots of light? It gives us the impression of light on the pond. That's why this type of art is called Impressionism. Let me tell you a little bit about Claude Monet. I got some information for you. This picture of water lilies was part of a series that Monet painted of his water garden at his house at Giverny. He painted them in his pond. He planted them, and then he watched them grow and multiply till he had many, many water lilies. Monet painted water lilies in all seasons and all weathers for over 30 years. Monet's last big project of his life was a number of huge paintings of the pond in different lighting and conditions, such as morning, sunset, and clouds. You can see some of the clouds being reflected in the water here. When he was finished, all the panels together were over 6 feet tall and nearly 300 feet long. During much of the project, Monet was getting old and his eyes were getting very bad. He spent the last 10 years of his life on this project and donated it. He donated it to France in the honor of the end of World War I. I have a picture of people sitting in the museum looking at all of his panels. You could see how long, how big those water lily panels were. They're sitting there and just enjoying the way they look. Well, we're going to make our own little version of water lily pads. We're going to paint our paper so it looks like water, very watery looking, with our lily pads and our flowers coming out of it. I'll tell you what we need. You need to have paper. Now you can use printer paper, but because you're using wet watercolor, you really need something a little heavier, like a piece of paper from the sketch pad. But you can use you can use printer paper. You just have to be careful. It's going to be very delicate. And I'll tell you, I use my messy mat because this does get messy. So I have a messy mat here that I put my paper on. There we go. You'll need to have your watercolors and a brush. And a brush. For this, if you have a little bit of a wider brush, it would be helpful. If not, your regular brush will be okay. You need a pencil. You need some glue, regular white glue. You need a pair of scissors. And then you need some green paper for the water lily pads and something to trace a circle onto the green paper. For our project, we're making 3 water lily pads. You can make more for yours, but for this we're going to make 3. So what you need to do, of course, you need to have your water set up for your watercolors like we always do. So let's begin. You're going to trace your circles onto the lily pads paper, and I kind of keep them together, and then I cut all of them out at the same time. I traced it. See, I took my pencil and I traced around it. Good. Now I'm going to cut it out. Try to stay on your lines. Oh, my little tissue paper kind of flies away here. Follow it around. If you go off your line a little bit, that's okay. There we go. Good. There. I'll put my little scraps away. And then when you're done, you should have 3 or more lily pads. I'm going to make 3 for this. We're going to put that on the side until we do our painting. All right. For our painting, we need to first cover your paper with some water brushed onto it. You do have to work a little bit quickly because you don't want your paper to dry. Just cover it all with plain water. If you miss a little spot here and there, that's okay. That's not a problem. But brush water onto it. Don't let your paper get too dry. That's why I'm saying you have to work pretty quickly. There. Get right to the edges. There we go. Now, let's get some water. And we're going to use the watercolors like the greens and the blues and the purples. So you want to get some water in there to get started. Now let's begin. Pick up water on your brush, swish it around in the paint a little, and just let the water carry your paint. Isn't that lovely? The water will help move your paint around the paper. There we go. This is pretty quick. I think I'll use a little green. Get some water and a little green. There we go. Some green here. Lots of water on your brush. There we go. If they blend together, that's fine. If you have a little streak here and there of white, that's all right. And we're going to do some purple also. There we go. Notice I'm working pretty quickly on this because I want my paper to be wet. I don't want to give it too much time to dry. A little more blue right to the end of it paper. It's a good thing I have my messy mat on here so it doesn't make my work area full of paint. Right to the edge. Right to the edge. There we go. A little more blue here. There. Right to the edge there. I'm going to leave those little white spaces. I like them. Now this is the hard part. You have to let your paper dry. After you let your paper dry, we can do the second part of our project. Okay. All right, boys and girls, I will see you later when we can do the second part of our project, part 2 of our water lily.